It's Friday morning. Your business matters. You got this, Wayne?
Well, yeah, and we referred to the fact that we've got Clint Ingram with us this morning, owner of and funeral director of Ingram Funeral Home. And we were talking about it's been almost 2 years since you were here, and you were a brand new owner when you were there, weren't you?
Yes, it's wonderry to be back.
And you survived. Confidence.
You survived.
Yeah, he's got this success confidence I can see in him.
I did. Here's what I did after listening to the traits of entrepreneurs. You know what I do is I make my bullseye on my back move around, so it's harder to hit. So
Amen.
My competitors have to really adjust.
So you make them chase you.
Yes, I adjust with tact and quality service.
And one thing we should acknowledge.
You laugh, but that's an absolutely excellent statement to make. That's so true.
And another thing, as we're talking about, we want to give you a chance to advertise your business as well, but thinking of you as a business side, another thing that I know Joe always says, get somebody to help you with the marketing side, and so we've got a new person with you here today, Lori Cashion, who's your marketing gal, right?
Yes. I'm really appreciative to have a marketing person, especially Lori. She brings a lot of talent and contributes a lot when it comes to connecting with the community. I like to be able to focus in on what I'm really good at, which is serving families during a time of loss. I always tell every family that I serve, I can't take the pain away, but what I can do is I can hold their hand through the process and try to make a painful time as easy as possible, and that's a challenge, but I really have been blessed to serve many wonderful families in the last little over 2 years that we've been in business. Now, my facility has been a funeral home for over 40 years. It was formerly Neal Funeral Home, and Mr. Neal really did bless me with the honor of carrying on his business or the legacy that he left, and I feel very blessed to have been able to continue it on and just make
Clint,
it into something.
I do admire you for bringing on a salesperson, but Lori, I got to ask you, come on, how do you sell to dead people? How you do this? What do you, when you get up in the morning, how do you do this?
Well, what I do is I go to retirement communities, I go to hospice homes, I attend healthcare forums, ribbon cuttings, chamber events, and the list goes on and on and on. So
she's like the Grim Reaper. They see her coming. They're like, oh, boy. No.
Here she comes again.
No, I mean, obviously, I'm joking about that, but seriously, what you're touching on is really what any business needs to do, which is absolutely find your buyer profile and let them know you're around.
Right, that's right.
And Clint, for you to bring somebody on board to do that really does free you up to do what you absolutely enjoy doing, which is the operational side.
Yes, I'm actually currently about 3/4 of the way through the Andrew Carnegie biography, and one of the things I picked up from his book was that you don't have to be great and the best at every activity. You just have to know how to find the right people that are really good at that, and
that are good at the things you're not.
Yes,
exactly. You do a pretty good job of marketing too, though. I mean, you get around the community and be seen, and you're well known and you're well liked. And I know you've been part of the WSIC family for a while, so we appreciate that, and glad you're still here.
Yes, thank you. It's been a challenge, and I enjoy it. And
well, you talk about
it ain't work if you love what you're doing, and I truly do love what I do.
It must be that passion thing that you're talking about.
I'm curious, and again, it's such a difficult conversation for me to have, but how do you project what a year looks like? How do you do that? I mean, as a business guy, I can do that because there's so many clients that I'm going after and that sort of stuff. How do you do it? Because you just don't know from one day to the next.
Yeah, that's true. I sit down and at the beginning of every year, every fiscal year, and I project, what I want to accomplish, and just work towards that goal. And sometimes I surpass it, and sometimes I'm just below it. But to set goals is very important.
Now you give kudos to Neal, the former owner. What kind of changes have you made that you think makes you bigger and better than what it was in the past.
Well, Mr. Neal was a very well-respected funeral director here in the area and a very well-respected man in the community. But as he got a little bit older, like he was 80 years old when he handed the torch to me, and he suffered from a little bit of dementia and a little bit had some mental issues, which
I think
affected the quality. It affected the quality of his business. But he loved what he did so much that it was hard for him to walk away. It was like walking away from a child. So I am having to basically rebrand and let the community know that you're going to get great service like you did when Mr. Neal was in his prime, because as he aged, he was unable to serve the families with the quality of service that they deserved and expected. So it really hurt the business and the reputation. So that is actually the reason why I changed the name. It used to be Neal Funeral Home, and originally I was going to keep the name, but as I got more involved in the community and was able to kind of get a feel of the reputation. It was the funeral home in Mooresville in the late 80s, early 90s. Everybody wanted to be buried at Neal Funeral Home. And through the years, as he aged, he stopped. He kind of slowed down on the upkeep, and was a little challenged when it came to serving the families appropriately. So what I'm doing is I'm coming back and just giving the highest quality service in the community and at very competitive pricing.
Clint, let's talk about that, because I deal with this all the time, as you know, buying and selling small businesses. What would you recommend to a small business owner how would you suggest that they review and value the reputation of the company? Because it's kind of hard to do. And I mean, you didn't really know how bad it was until you stepped into his shoes. Am I correct?
You're correct. It was eye-opening to me, because when I met Mr. Neal, I saw what a wonderful person he was, and he passed away August 30th.
And you had this vision of what you knew he had built over the years, and it's all positive, and you don't really know the negative.
Yes, and
what would you have done differently to better prepare for some of the challenges that you soon found out?
Not that this would have deterred me from purchasing the funeral home. I probably would have still purchased it, because I had 100% confidence that I would run it the way the community would want to be served. But I would have probably done a little bit more legwork as far as just knocking on doors and talking to the community about, hey, what is the general opinion on this business? Is it what do people like about it? And find out what makes Mr. Neal's funeral home different from the competitors. And then I would have gotten a little more feedback and a little more insight into what I was walking into.
Well, speaking of competitors, I mean, you've obviously got competition. Incidentally, don't forget to say you're in Mooresville. Why should people use your funeral home versus some of your competitors?
Because they get us. But I'd like Lori to answer that in a little more detail.
Well, I've worked for other funeral homes and been in the industry for years. And at Ingram Funeral Home, you actually have the feeling of being home in your own living room. You can relax and be comfortable just like you're at your own home. You don't have the anxiety. You just feel comfortable. We make you feel comfortable because that's what we want.
To go back, Clint, it's interesting because even if you would have had a conversation with Neal, he would not have believed you that his actions over the couple of years actually created this negative. There's no way he would have actually acknowledged that those things had become negatives.
Well, it's interesting because we discussed that. I told him when I was going to change the name, I made sure that it was okay with him, because I told him when I originally purchased it that I was going to leave the name Neal Funeral Home. And so, I sat down with him when I was starting to contemplate on, really rebranding, starting from, the name up, and Mr. Neal, he understood, he respected it as a businessman, would, but at the same time it bothered him a little bit because, the name was going to change. But he was okay with it.
I think he knew it was time.
Well,
yes,
before we let you go,
and
let's make sure people know how to get hold of you if they'd like to talk to you, because I know you do a lot of pre-need work and prepay and planning and things. So let people know how they can get hold of you.
Okay. You can get a hold of me by calling me, emailing me, dropping in at the funeral home, or however other creative ways you can think of. I'm in Mooresville. I'm located right off of North Main Street and Statesville Avenue in the historic downtown area in the 1-5. And you can call me at 704-663-3939.
Give that phone number one more time.
704-663-3939.